Hey guys, welcome back to Connor Reads, and this is going to be part 5 of Robert Jordan's Lord of Chaos. It's going to be my reactions to the chapters I've just read, and I'm just about to start chapter 42, so that's where I'm up to. So if you haven't read this book, there will be spoilers from the outset and throughout, so go away, read the book, and come back. So much happened in this last couple hundred pages, it's absolutely crazy, so I'm going to jump right into it. Let's go. Now, for the last couple of books, we really have had the same character combinations, and so much happened to mix up the character combinations in this last couple hundred pages, and I think that's really, really good to push the story forwards. We had so much development from certain characters, so to watch them all re-interacting with each other, having developed for like sometimes 2 or 3 books, has been amazing. So we'll start with the first big thing that happened. Nynaeve managed to heal Logain, Swan, and Leanne. That is absolutely crazy. Now, I do have to give myself a pat on the back because I did predict that. And the reason I predicted it is because Robert Jordan put in that Morgideon said to Nynaeve, have you managed to heal Logain yet? And she said it jestingly, but he described a certain look that she gave to Nynaeve as if she was really interested in the answer. So at least one person knew it was possible, maybe all of the Forsaken as well. Now, this is massive news. It definitely makes her the greatest healer of her generation, and maybe even the greatest since the Forsaken were imprisoned, even though I believe it's Semirage who was described as, an incredible healer. So this does create some predictions. I think number one, that this is going to create a lot more deaths, because previously, if somebody was seen to be non-deserving of Aes Sedai channeling abilities, or if they seemed undeserving, well, pretty much every man, of being able to channel, they were stilled, or gentled. However, now that's not really a long-term solution. So I think we're going to see a lot more deaths because of it. And another thing is, I'm excited to see what happens with Logain and with Swan. Now let's start with Logain. He is not going to be executed, clearly, and I think he is going to link up with Mazrim Taim and Rand's School of Channelers. And I think this is going to cause so much tension, because I think between Logain and Mazrim Taim, them together may be strong enough to defeat Rand. But I also think it might be a case of this town ain't big enough for the two of us with those two there. So I don't really have like a real concrete prediction, but I can see there being tension, and that storyline needs to explode at some point. At least one of the men are going to go insane or crazy, and maybe we see a showdown between, Logain and Mazrim Taim versus Rand, or maybe those two versus each other, or any combination of that. And then when it comes to Swan, I really didn't find myself very impressed with her as the Amyrlin-Seat. I know she did a ton of good work before the story reaches her. However, since she was stilled, she had become very cunning, gritty, determined, and also just intelligent and smart and wily. And I think, although she has some of her powers back, because they're nowhere near full strength as Robert Jordan described, and that does make me think that maybe if a male healed her, she would be full strength, because Nynaeve healed her and Logain, and she's a female, and Logain seems to be full strength. So that was something I'm thinking. However, with Swan, I would like to see her take those same characteristics that she's shown since she was stilled and bring them into her new Aes Sedai life. So I'm excited for her storyline. I don't have a big prediction on what she's going to achieve, but I imagine she would kind of be like Egwin's bulldog, her enforcer, and somebody who can really give her a ton of information. And although Egwin doesn't want to be a puppet, like, following Swan's advice might not be the worst idea ever. And that brings me to our second bombshell. Egwin was chosen as the Amyrlin-Seat. Now, I am very surprised. I've always predicted that it was going to be Elaine, and I think all of that development with Egwene, with the Wise Ones, was obviously leading up to this. And I do want to throw out an apology to all you Egwene fans. I really, in the last video, wasn't too impressed with her. And I still think that there's something in her that could lead her to be a grey character, at least. But it just seems much less likely now that she's the Amyrlin-Seat. So we'll see what happens with her. I'm excited for her. And in the last couple hundred pages, she's really undone some of the, not wrongs, but undone some of the distance between me as the reader and her. Because I felt like I couldn't connect with her very much as a main character. But now she's back. The triple threat are back together. Nynaeve, Elaine, and Egwene, I'm really excited about it. Now, we've had a lot of emissaries, so the White Tower has sent their emissaries across to see Rand. And during that meeting, he kind of made Nynaeve invisible. And we already know from Samael's talk with the other Forsaken that one of the Forsaken was in the White Tower. Now, I think Masina, I think her name is, or Masana, was sent by accident, or maybe on purpose, as the emissary to Rand. And I think that what's going to happen is, right now, Samael sent the other Forsaken to go and find out where all of them are. All the other Forsaken are, sorry, it's quite complicated. And I think he's going to use that as a bargaining tool with Rand. So I think that Samael will tell Rand that one of the emissaries from the White Tower is a Forsaken. Hopefully that makes sense. And I think that that's going to be massive, obviously, because he's going to have to deal with that problem really, really quickly. Now, also, Min and the Small Tower, or Little Tower, I can't remember what they decided to call it in the end. I'm going to go with Small Tower. They also sent their emissaries to Rand as well. And Min is going to be a really useful tool. I really like her as a character as well. But I think what's going to happen is the hostilities between the White Tower and the Small Tower, they are going to come to a boil, not because of anything that Egwene does immediately. I think that the Forsaken that I'm predicting is in the emissary from the White Tower, this is really complicated, is going to convince the others that Rand's not going to come with them, so they need to capture him and bring him to the White Tower. And Min predicted that Aes Sedai are going to harm Rand maybe more than once, so maybe they do get him. And then I think that the emissaries from the Small Tower are then going to save Rand, and that will stop Rand wanting to force Egwene to give the rest of the Aes Sedai over in fealty to him, and he decides, okay, you saved me, so we can just be like allies, essentially. Whew, that was complicated. I'm going to watch this back and make sure I explain that correctly. A little side note, I'm sick and tired of reading about Rand and his women. So individually, Avinda, awesome character. Elaine, awesome character. Min, awesome character. Rand, awesome character. I'm just sick and tired of them trying to figure out how they fit into his life and him trying to figure out his love life as well. It's just a bit repetitive. It's not very well written. And I'd be more than happy if I didn't have to read another thing about Rand and his romances. Just throwing that out there. Now, another thing we found out was the Black Aja is in Saladar, and maybe not even just the Black Aja, it might be another Forsaken. And they gave the name Arangar, and I believe at the start of this book, Arangar was a Forsaken who had been spat back out by the wheel, so like reborn by the wheel. So that's interesting. What I think is going to happen is Matt is over there now. Matt is in Saladar, and Matt almost recognized Bridget, because of his memories. He looked at her and he was like, oh man, I feel like I should remember her. And I think those memories are going to click back into place. And if he can remember her, because he has obviously the memories of tons and tons of people moving backwards, important ones, one of them might have interacted with that Forsaken previously. So what may happen is Matt recognizes that Forsaken, Arangar, that I believe is there in Saladar, but then that Forsaken before that might recognize Morgidian somehow and release her from her Adem. And that would create a massive problem, having two Forsaken there in Saladar. Obviously that's if I am right about Arangar being a Forsaken anyway, but that would be a huge showdown for Egwene to have to deal with as the Amyrlin seat. And the very best thing about Egwene being the Amyrlin seat is that we're finally going to see Aes Sedai in action. They're so slow moving, so cautious, and their decision making is so just snail-like that we haven't seen huge strides from them, even though they're really the most powerful faction as a whole in the entirety of the world that we've seen so far. So with Egwene, we're going to see a lot happen, and already she expertly maneuvered Sheriam to convince herself that they need to start moving towards the White Tower, which is exciting. I think we're going to see Elaine and Nynaeve sent off to Ebu Dar, which is also really exciting. I want to see what that pot with where the inside is all about and why it's there and who owns it. So I'm very much excited to have her so that we progress the Aes Sedai storyline faster than it has been moving. And with Matt arriving in Saladar, we had an incredible scene where these characters, you know, Elaine, kind of, but especially Nynaeve, Egwene, and Matt, they grew up in this village together. Matt now has the memories of, you know, thousands of people, it feels like. He is a battle general. He's been to he went to, where did he go to? Ruideen. He has something that stops him channeling. He's an expert warrior. Nynaeve just is the first ever person in the last however many thousand years to figure out how to heal people. She's super strong and she's defeated a Forsaken. Egwene, similar accolades, and is now the Emir in seat and lived with the Wise Ones for a while. And they all come together and it's basically like they're girls and boys again. They're kicking, screaming, fighting. And it's hilarious that Matt doesn't believe she's the Emir in seat. He tries to take the stole off her and convince her that he can get them out and that they're being idiots. And I just massively enjoyed that. Like the tension from every scene kind of left me a little bit there, and I was just enjoying them interacting with each other. So much fun. And then finally, the guy we love to hate, he had one chapter, Padan Fain. He never gets 2 or 3 chapters in a row, and it's so frustrating, but he's back. He told somebody else that his name was Morduf, and that makes me think that, you know, he just is Morduf, I suppose, personified. Maybe Morduf took over Padan Fain's body. He also revealed that the Chosen are like his rivals, so I would love to see Padan Fain face off with one of the Chosen. I don't know if he would win directly, because I'm not sure if he has direct ability to channel, but if he was, you know, fighting some kind of guerrilla warfare against one, that would be incredible. He also revealed that he has a bond with Rand that seems to be similar to the one that Alana has with Rand. Now, obviously, he hasn't bonded Rand as a warder, so I don't really know where that connection would come from, other than... No, I'm not really sure where that connection would come from. Now, I do remember, I can't remember if it was this book or one before, it was mentioned that the Dark One always has a champion as well. I don't know, is Morduf maybe the Dark One's champion? But probably not, because he destroyed a ton of the Dark One's forces as well. So, I don't know, it's so hard to predict for Padan Fain because we get like drip-fed information about him. There's never enough. There's never more than 1 chapter or half a chapter about him at a time, so it's tough for me to make predictions. One thing I will predict with this storyline is, though, we did lose an Aiel called Leanne, I believe it's pronounced, in Shadar Logoth. Now, that happened way too simply, way too easily, and was just brushed over. And I think that maybe she gets infected with Morduf, or like another evil soul that's there in Shadar Logoth. I still don't know exactly what it is, but it's probably like the coolest place. And I think maybe she links up with Padan Fain and they do like a Bonnie and Clyde evil Morduf couple. You know, I'm definitely reaching here, but who wouldn't want to see that? That would be fun. Those are all my predictions and reactions from this last section. My next video will be just final reactions and predictions. I would love for you guys to state your comments below. I always love to be a part of your community and hear what you have to say. Please like and subscribe. And one thing I would ask you to do as well is, if you're really enjoying this series of me reading and communicating my ideas, send it to someone else you know who also watches the Wheel of Time. I would love to have more people on this journey and more people basically to speak with about this incredible universe. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you at the end of the book.